Start by focusing on today's first reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah. Once again, it's prophecies pertaining to the coming of Christ. And notice how it mentions that out of their gloom and darkness, the eyes of the blind shall see. So out of their gloom and darkness, the eyes of the blind shall see. Now, obviously, we tend to assume that this refers to those who are physically blind being able to see, and in one sense that is very true. So the physical miracles that our Lord performed, such as what we heard in today's gospel reading, how our Lord heals these two blind men, it's a fulfillment of that prophecy, an indication that Christ is the Messiah, that he is the fulfillment of all these prophecies. But it's also a reference to spiritual blindness. So those who are spiritually blind, those who are in spiritual darkness and gloom, will be able to see. They will be able to understand. They will see the truth, and the truths pertaining to our faith, the truths pertaining to the meaning of our existence. And I've mentioned this before, but it's worthwhile reflecting upon again. You know, in today's age, we have a lot of atheists. The number of atheists is increasing in the world. And their view of life is that all there is just this life. There's no life after death. There's nothing after death. There's no God. There's no objective morality. And so they really have no purpose except to seek satisfaction in worldly things. And often that would entail sinful things. They might turn to sensual pleasure. They might turn to drugs or alcohol. And eventually they realize nothing seems to make them happy, and yet they have this great desire for happiness. So it's not surprising that many young people are depressed. Many of them are suicidal. Even the elderly, a lot of them choosing to opt for euthanasia or assisted suicide, because what's the purpose of living? What's the purpose of suffering? They don't see the reason for our existence. So as followers of our Lord, we have this spiritual sight, this spiritual vision, and not just the understanding that there is life after death, that God exists and he loves us and he doesn't want us to end up in hell, so we need to follow him so we can end up in heaven, but also the realization that we are created by love and for love, and love is the most important thing in the world. And it's not just loving the people who are close to us, family members or good friends or your spouse, but basically loving everyone. This is our purpose. This is our goal. And how do we manifest this love? By kindness, the corporal works of mercy, the spiritual works of mercy. I want to emphasize the spiritual works of mercy. So in other words, bringing sight to the blind, those who don't know these truths, making them realize that God exists, that Jesus is God incarnate, that he redeemed us, that he made salvation possible, that total and complete happiness is attainable through God. And this is the greatest good that we could do, is to share the faith with someone. So we too are called to try to spread the message of salvation, to enable those who are in darkness and gloom to be able to see the light. And notice even in the responsorial psalm, the refrain, the Lord is my light and my salvation. It's only when there is light present can we see. So the Lord is my light. It's only through the Lord that we can truly see. And this is what we want for everyone. Now, today is the feast of Saint Nicholas. And it's a very great feast in many ways, because in the early church, he was an extremely popular saint. He lived in the 4th century. He was a bishop, of course, and there's not a whole lot known about him, but he was noted for his charity. And in particular, there's the story that, a man who was poor, he had 3 daughters and they were of marrying age, but he couldn't provide a dowry for his daughters, so he was worried that they would be forced into prostitution or be extremely poor during their lives. So when St. Nicholas heard of this, he threw in a bag of gold coins into the window of this man, and he was able to wed his first daughter. And so St. Nicholas did this 3 times. And it indicates his charity, love of neighbor. And St. Nicholas became very popular, so popular that his image was manifest, or people, painted him, or stained glass windows, or whatever it may have been, statues of him. Next to Our Lady, he was the most popular saint because he was a great intercessor. In other words, he did a lot of good during his lifetime, but people continued to pray to St. Nicholas, asking him to intercede on their behalf. And because he did so, this is why he became so popular. And so it's important for us to realize the power and the efficacy of the intercession of the saints, and for us to invoke St. Nicholas also. But part of the reason I emphasize him is because it is from St. Nicholas that we get the tradition of Santa Claus. So Sancta Nicholas was shortened to Sancta Claus, and eventually to just Santa Claus, and it was mixed in with some Germanic folklore or whatever, with the reindeer and all these other things. But basically, this idea of charity, that Santa Claus is the one who comes to bring presents. So St. Nicholas is the one who brought presents to others, and he continues to bring presents. And in many European countries, it's on this day that children receive gifts, not on Christmas. On Christmas, they receive sweets and things like that, because the focus remains for Christmas that it's about Christ. It's about the incarnation and the joy that brings through sweets and stuff. But the gift giving is on this day, the feast of St. Nicholas. So let us ask St. Nicholas to intercede on our behalf. Just a few announcements. Today is First Friday, so ideally, if you can, try to receive Holy Communion with the intention of making reparation to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Also this evening, after our evening Mass, we will again have the all-night Vigil of Adoration. And just a reminder, tomorrow, after our evening Mass, after the 5 p.m. Mass, we will have the parish Christmas concert, including the children's choir. Light refreshments will be available afterwards. It'll be an excellent treat for you. So if you're able to come, please come out for that. And note that the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, which is normally on December the 8th, has been moved to Monday, because the Sunday Mass takes preference over the Feast of Our Lady. So we celebrate the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, the Solemnity, on Monday. In addition to our 9 a.m. Mass, we will have Mass at 7:30 p.m. The Living Rosary will be recited, led by the Legion of Mary of our parish, at 6 p.m. That's on Monday, and everyone's invited to participate.